different story. The destinations do not match up. It's tough being young, isn't it? I'm 30 years old. I know you hear this a lot, but it seemed like yesterday that I was 15. 15 years old. I won a speaking contest, all expense paid, to Orlando, Florida, about this time of the year. National competition in prepared speaking. That seems like yesterday. And here I am 15 years later. And I look back and say, what have I done with that time? It was a little different when I was 15 than probably some of you. But in a lot of ways, it's the same. You know, Satan wasn't asleep when I was 15 years old. And he's not asleep now. So to think that maybe things were different back when I was younger than what they are today, I don't know. I don't know about all that. But I know it was tough. And I heard people say, I want to be popular, And at 30, at 15, that sounded like a great idea. I want to be popular. Yeah, I want to be popular. But at 30, I realized that everybody's going to be popular. Some will be popular for doing what's right, and some will be popular for doing what's wrong. But everybody is popular. It was tough. When I was younger, I didn't have parents that supported my quest in being popular. CDs were a big thing when I was a kid. You know how many CDs my parents bought me? I played baseball. Do you know how many $200, $300 bats my parents bought me? Look at me. Other people had these nice fold-up chairs at the games. My parents brought like the stuff off the front porch. Threw it in the back of the truck. Come sit in it. But now I see some parents that want their children to be popular, and they're pushing them toward that, and they want them to be first. They want them to be at the top of the list. They want to be number one. If that means buying a $300 or $400 bat, I'm like, lady, do you not know how many hours you had to work to buy that bat? That's what I think about. I want to go buy an iPad. You know what? I make $7 an hour. How many days am I going to have to work to buy this iPad? We didn't have parents. I didn't. My parents didn't support that. But unfortunately today we do. So I don't know, preacher, what are you talking about? Well, iPhones at 7 years old, 6, 7 years old. Why? Is there ever a time when a 6-year-old should not be with a guardian, an adult that you trust? Why do they need a phone? But it happens. And it causes problems. And and sometimes our vision kind of gets blurred. We get a little distracted. And I think that those closest to Jesus had the same exact problem. I think it was hard for them too. I really do. Want to be like Jesus? Yes. We're going to heaven? Yes. Believe the Bible? Yes. Love Jesus? Yes. But it's tough. It really is tough. And they struggle with it. In Mark chapter 9, we got grown people that are the closest friends of Jesus fighting. Do you hear me? Fighting about who's the greatest, about being number one. And Jesus kind of has a discussion with them and tries to bring them to the table and says, hey, the greatest of all needs to be your servant. In other words, if you want to run the store, you better sweep the floor. The way up is down. And so they got a little blurred. I think they got a little confused at times as well. It was overwhelming because the life that Jesus was asking them to live was much different than the life that they were used to. We kind of throw it around like it's not a big deal, but to go from being fishermen to fishers of men is quite a transition. It's quite a change. You see, a change is the outward part of that, and the transition is the inward emotional part. And so when you become a Christian, there's a change. But inwardly, there's a transition. There's a transformation that takes place. And so they're fussing, they're fighting. One of my favorite stories in the entire Bible. I can just hear it. Matthew's up there, trying to make his case of being first. He says, I'm number one. Anybody that's read their Bible knows that. I mean, you can't even open up the New Testament. What's the first word you read right there? What does it say? Matthew. Hello. Matthew, Mark, Luke, then John. I'm number one. Peter says, no, I don't think so. Because I went to Vacation Bible School and they said Jesus called them one by one. Peter, hello. I'm number one. And then in the very next chapter, Jesus tells them, if you want to go to heaven, you want to go to heaven? You got to ask the right question. You got to ask the right question. Say that with me. Ask the right question. What do you mean? You like to ask questions? I ask a lot of questions. Sometimes too many. A couple of years ago, the governor appointed me to the EMS board. So I sit on a board, and I know a little bit about EMS. There's a lot of things regulatory that I don't understand, so I ask a lot of questions. And there's people that are not on the board, but that are in the division that are under me that sometimes make faces. They'll, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm your boss. I don't care what you think, I want to ask because I want to know this affects the citizens of the state of Tennessee. I want to know the answer to the question. Okay? I sat on the county commission. A man came and he said, we're going to refinance all your debt. $20 million worth of debt. It's going to be great and every blah, blah, blah. It's just a wonderful deal for the county. Well, I asked a question. Guess what the question I asked? I said, how much money are you going to make? There's like dropping a bomb in there. Like, how dare you ask me how much money I'm going to make? And he looked over at me like I was crazy, and I said, I know you ain't doing it for free. I mean, you got to ask the right question. James and John, they come to Jesus, and they tell him, they said, Jesus wants you to do whatever we tell you to do. Can you imagine telling Jesus that? That's wild, isn't it? That is wild for James and John to tell Jesus, Jesus, why don't you just do whatever we tell you to do? Maybe I'd have said the same thing, but it just seems wild to me that they would say that. And Jesus, being the person that he is, he said, hey man, I'm the Son of God. Don't you tell me what to do. Okay, let's get that straight first and foremost. If this campaign, if this experiment is going to work, you're going to have to be under me, and I tell you what to do. That's not what he said. That is not what Jesus said. I want you to look at me there in Mark chapter 10. They said, we want to sit on your right hand, your left hand. The other people, they got mad about it. They got mad about it. When they told that to Jesus, the Bible says that Jesus replied, Mark chapter 10, verse number 36. He said, what do you want me to do for you? He said, what do you want me to do for you? Master, we would that thou wouldest do for us whatsoever we desire, verse 35. Ask the right question. The question that I'm referring to was asked by Jesus Christ himself. He said, what do you want me to do for you? Let me ask you a question. What kind of The great ones of the church are not telling the preachers, this is what I think you need to be preaching. Youth ministers, what I think you need to be doing. This is where we need to be going. They're the ones that are saying, hey, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? I mean, Sunday night after church, anybody want to go out and eat? You would like to go out and eat? I'll go anywhere at McDonald's. I hate McDonald's. I can't stand that place. I had hair in my food. My straw was dirty, this and that. I can't stand it. People there are rude. The food's too cheap. Don't we like being around people like that? I mean, I want to be a part of a youth group that says, you want to go eat? That's great. I mean, where do y'all want to go? I mean, I'm game. You tell me. We like being in that kind of group. That's great, but we got to be that kind of person. What kind of difference? We got a few husband and wives here. What difference would it make in your marriage if the wives, when you came home from work, the husband said, honey, what can I do for you? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine you're sitting here and you're watching your mom and dad, okay? Envision this for me. Your mom and dad. Mom's at home. Dad comes home. Dad says, honey, what can I do for you? Your mom would probably say what? Call an ambulance. Either I'm fixing to pass out or you're really sick. But it's time for somebody to go to the hospital. You know? Boyfriends, girlfriends. What difference would it make in your relationship? If you practice what can I do for you? You want to go to heaven, don't you? Don't you want to go to heaven? You got to ask the right question. What would it mean to your preacher if you went up to him and said, hey, preacher, I know you got a lot going on. What can I do for you? Give me run the bulletin off. I mean, what can I do? What about your parents? Can you imagine? Your parents, they're always on me about something. My room ain't clean, blah, 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 which I had a theory about that. When I was growing, I thought my room looked like an L4 went through it. But I figured that if I could get up in the morning, get dressed, and get to school on time, then my room was perfectly fine. I mean, it worked. It did everything, and I could, if you didn't like it, they put a door on it for a reason, That's what I was thinking. But my parents and I, we didn't see eye to eye. But reckon if I came home from school and said, Mama, what can I do for you? And she said, clean your room. And I went in there and did it. What kind of difference? Just practicing what Jesus did, what kind of difference would it make between your relationship with your parent? Honor your father and mother. What kind of difference would it make to practice what Jesus said? You want to go to heaven, don't you? Can you do that and disobey your parents and hate them? And talk bad to them, roll your eyes, send little Snapchats and texts and everything else about them? No, you can't do that. You got to, hey, what can I do for you? That's what Jesus did. They just got through telling him that I want you to do whatever I tell you to do. And Jesus said, well, what do you want me to do? It's unbelievable. I don't even know why Jesus would. He does it again in verse number 51. We'll get there later. But I don't understand really why Jesus, I know it's Jesus, but it's just so not what we would say, So in contrast to what we would do. You want to be like Jesus? You want to go to heaven? You got to do the uncomfortable. What I mean by that, say that with me. You got to ask the right question. Ask the right question, and then you got to what? Do the uncomfortable. Do the uncomfortable. In the same chapter there, verse number 34, the Bible says, they shall scoff him, they shall scourge him, they shall spit on him, they shall kill him. It's a lot going on right there in one verse, if you ask me. It's a lot really for my heart to take in. Especially since there's so much emphasis placed on zero tolerance for what in our schools just recently? Bullying. Yeah, exactly. Who said that? Gold star. All right, bullying. Don't do it. And I read in the news where they're going to put it in the workplace. I'm like, hallelujah. Bullying. You can't do it. But for some reason, it was acceptable for the religious leaders to do that to Jesus. They scoffed him. They scourged him. Do you know what that means, scourge? You ever seen anybody in a fight get beat up? You ever seen a YouTube video of it or something? Anybody ever seen a fight? I feel sorry for the guy, I feel sorry for the guy getting beat up, don't you? I remember in school, I went to break up a fight, and I was about this close to getting whooped myself. I said, whoa, he's going to take this one himself. I'm done. I ain't getting a black eye for nobody. Okay? It's over with. Waving a white flag, but it's just strange to me that somehow it was acceptable, it was okay to do that to Jesus. That they beat him to a pulp. and then they spit on him. You ever been spit on? I'm a paramedic. I've been spit on. Drunk, high, teeth busted out, laying on their back, spitting blood out of their mouth on me. I've been spit on. You don't spit on people, do you? What would happen if you're about 7, 8 years old and you, Mama bent down, look at your little cheeks, and you spit right in her face? What would happen? If you live to tell about it, the memory would not be very pleasant. You don't spit on people. You spit on the ground, maybe in a trash can. I don't like people spit, but some people spit in the trash. That's their own business, as long as it's not mine. But you don't spit on people. You see, what was number 2? You got to do the uncomfortable. Jesus was comfortable doing the uncomfortable. You see, you got to do the uncomfortable so that somebody else might be comfortable. Jesus was the master at this. Do you want to go to heaven or not? I know it's a lot to ask, but do you want to go or not? Do you want to stand up and shout it that you're going? We got to do the uncomfortable. We got to do the uncomfortable. Mark chapter 10. That's where we are. Give me some examples of maybe doing the uncomfortable. Young people, we do this, don't we? Maybe the first time that you participated in a Valentine's meal for those that were widows, was it a little uncomfortable? Maybe sitting with them, a little uncomfortable. What about cooking a meal, some cookies for them? It's a little uncomfortable. Kind of cramps our schedule a little bit. We'd rather be out playing softball or something. We do the uncomfortable, okay? Maybe cleaning up somebody's house, washing some dishes, helping mow a yard. I don't know. But typically in a youth group, you get exposure to doing the uncomfortable. In John chapter 13, we got the disciples. Well, before I begin this story, how many of you ever gotten a pedicure? Just ladies only. You guys, you don't have to raise your hand. Ladies only, pedicure, hands up, hands up, hands up. Everybody in here, that's good. That's good. Glad y'all get that pampering, and it's nice. I've seen little tubs and people do all that stuff. That's good. I was there to buy my wife a gift certificate. But what do you do before you go get a pedicure? I know what you do. You wash your feet. Ain't no woman in this place going to go get a pedicure with stinky, nasty, dirty feet. I know you better than that, and I don't even know some of your names. But I know that you wash your feet before you go pay somebody to wash your feet. I know that you do that. Okay? John 13, 12 disciples, 24 dirty, nasty, stinking, filthy feet, 120 dirty, nasty, toe jam things. All right? And Jesus, the creator of the world, said, you know what? Their feet need to be washed. They're dirty. He went and got some water and a towel, and he washed their feet. As soon as this lesson's over, we're going to go over to the fellowship hall. Some of your feet are stinking, nasty. And me and Vern, we're going to wash your feet. How many's going to stay around? Hands up. Exactly. Point well taken. Jesus was willing to do the uncomfortable so that you and I could be very, very comfortable. Oh, preacher, we don't believe in them foot washing ceremonies. I don't either. Oh, we don't believe in washing feet. You better. We got to get used to doing the uncomfortable. So somebody else you said you want to go to heaven. I'm trying to help you out. Now, it's right from Mark chapter 10. You said you wanted to go. I want you to go, and I want to go. I want everybody to go. But we got to surrender our rights and scrub somebody's commode. We got to do the uncomfortable. The Christian life is not a life of ease. I liked what one preacher said, that God's not calling us to a padded pew. He's calling us to an old rugged cross that wasn't sanded, that wasn't padded, that didn't have a seat on it. Jesus did the uncomfortable so that we could be very comfortable. That's what I'm talking about. You want to go to heaven? I do. Pretty challenging. Number 3, you got to treat everybody as a somebody. Right there, verse 46. Read it with me. They came to Jericho. As he went out of Jericho with the disciples, a great number of people, blind who? Bartimaeus, exactly. He sat by the highway side begging. Alms for the poor. Alms for the poor. And when he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. And many, listen here, charged him that he should hold his peace. What does that mean? The people there with him said, please be quiet. You know, every single time somebody that's important, somebody that you think has got something to give you or offer you, every time they come to town, you start hollering at them. Man, you are embarrassing. Hush. And when they told him to be quiet, he cried the more a great deal, Thou son of David, have mercy on me. And Jesus stood still, commanding to be called. They called the blind man, saying unto him, Be of good comfort, he calleth thee. He casting away his garment rose, came to Jesus. And Jesus answered and said unto him, what was number 1? What was number 1? What was number 1 tonight? This afternoon? Ask the right question. And Jesus answered and said unto him, What do you want me to do for you? 2 times in the same chapter. Somebody that in the world's minds didn't matter. Somebody that according to everybody else was unimportant. But Jesus called him and he said, What do you want me to do for you? And he said, I want to see. I want to see. Jesus treated everybody as a somebody. You want to go to heaven? Do you? I do. I want you to go. You got to treat everybody as a somebody. If Jesus come up to you and said, Hey man, what do you want me to do for you? What do you want me to do for you? You say, Well, I'd like to have a lot of friends, a lot of money, big house, nice car. I mean, what would you want? Bartimaeus said, I want to see you. That's what I want. I want to see you. Shouldn't that be our response? I want to see you. On our checks, Whitney and I, right above the signature, it says, I'm a nobody that wants to tell everybody about somebody who can save anybody. Listen to me. And that somebody who can save anybody treated everybody as a somebody. 5 husbands, I'm going to treat you like a somebody. Lady, if you'll give that lifestyle up and follow me, I will give you living water. You can be somebody in the kingdom if you'll give it up. Rich young ruler. Oh, yeah, he's somebody, lady. He's got it going on. He's rich, he's young, and he's in charge. Jesus had time for him. If you give that up, give him riches up. Come on. Nicodemus. You want to be born again? You have real life. Jesus took time. He was a little confused. What do you mean? How am I going to go back in my mother's womb and be born again? Jesus took the time. He didn't say, Man, are you crazy? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. He took time and explained it to him. One-on-one, I see Jesus one-on-one many times teaching his greatest lessons. And in each case, seemingly, there was just one hang-up that person had that they were just unwilling to let go of in order to follow Jesus. Jesus treated everybody as a somebody. There's going to be people that, I don't know, you're allowed to cross paths with them in this life. Sometimes they're a blessing, sometimes they're a challenge. Maybe it's a test to see how you're going to treat them like Jesus did. There's going to be people that you're going to be in class with, you're going to be in youth group with. They're not going to look like you. They're not going to have the same family structure. Evan spoke to that earlier about his family structure. He said, I realize that's different from you. Your family structure may be very different than the people that you sit around. People are going to look like you. They're not going to look like you. They're certainly not going to smell like you. There's some people that are not going to talk like you, behave like you. How are we going to treat them? We're going to make fun of them? She wears them same blue jeans every day to school. He's the slowest reader in my class. I remember in the 4th grade, a boy lost control of himself, 4th grade. We made fun of him so bad he left the school. How are we going to treat him? You want to go to heaven? I do. You want to go to heaven, you got to be like Jesus. You got to be just like him. I remember another story in Matthew chapter 20 when Jesus had compassion on a what other people thought was a thief coming in Jericho, and Zacchaeus had climbed up in a tree to see Jesus. And Zacchaeus, what did Jesus tell him? I'm going home with you. In my mind, that was like dropping a bomb among the people there that thought they had it all together, who thought their lives were just perfect and everybody else was in shambles. Jesus said, I'm going home with you. Zacchaeus wasn't what other people thought. If I've wronged any man, hey, I'll make it right. Jesus went home with him. It's kind of a short story. I don't know. You may have heard it. It's pretty common. If you've heard it, I wish you'd just listen to it again, would you? It was around Christmas time, and there was a little boy that much I think would look like this child here that was looking in the store window. And a rich older man saw him, and he said, "Hi, son, what's your name?" He looked up at him, smiled real big, and he said, "My name's Sammy." He said, "It's good to meet you, Sammy." He said, "What's Santa Claus going to bring you for Christmas?" He said, "Ain't going to be no Santa Claus at my house." He said, "My dad's real sick. My mama's working 2 jobs. We can barely pay the bills. My dad would get better. That'd be Christmas enough for me." And he said, "Yeah, you're going to have a Christmas like everybody else. Come in the store, Sammy, pick out whatever you want, and I'm going to pay for it." Well, he'd spent enough time looking in that window, he knew exactly what he wanted. And he went through that store and throwing stuff here and there, grabbing all this stuff. Went to the line, checked out, paid for it. Sammy gave that man a big old hug. He looked up at him. He said, "Sir, can I ask you a question?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Are you Jesus?" He said, "Excuse me?" He said, "Are you Jesus?" He said, "No. But I'm trying to be like him. I'm trying to be like him." Are you Jesus? Are you trying to be like him? If so, you got to ask the right question. What can I do for you? Be comfortable doing the uncomfortable so that somebody else might be comfortable. And number 3, you got to treat everybody as a somebody. If you do that, you can stand up and shout it that you're going to heaven. I know that young people have their hearts broken. I'm not talking about boyfriend, girlfriend stuff. I'm talking about real life stuff. Some of the decisions you have to make and the choices you got to make are tough. A lot of times there's the difference between heaven and hell, life and death. I get it. I know it. I know. But I'm also aware that in a crowd like this, there may be somebody that isn't a Christian. Maybe somebody says, I'm ready to go. I want to be like Jesus. You're never more like Jesus than when you're coming up out of that water right there. Never more like Jesus than when you're coming up out of that water. You want to be like Jesus, don't you? I do. Maybe you got started well. Maybe you were all excited. Those around you weren't as excited as you, and they've dampened your spirit. They've caused you to second guess and to doubt and to wonder. I suppose that happens to all of us. You know, when I got baptized in 95, nobody was as excited as me. I didn't understand it. Kind of put a damper on my spirit for a little while. Maybe you kind of lost your way. When I was your age, I did. Many times. I'm always reminded of the prodigal son in Luke 15 that even though he lost his way to the pig pen, he didn't lose his way back home. And really, that's what makes all the difference. I don't know what you got going on in your life. I'm sure you got a lot of stress, a lot of things that are going on that probably I couldn't deal with. But I know you know the way home. If you decide to come home, if you decide to come forward, maybe, just because somebody comes forward doesn't mean they killed somebody. It may mean they just need some help. They're carrying a heavy load. They need love. They need prayers. They need some encouragement. Life's tough. I get it. I understand it. We're not going to look down on you. We're not going to make fun of you. We're not going to bully you. We're not going to spit on you. We're not going to crucify you. We're going to put our arms around you and be glad that you came. You want to go to heaven? Make the decision while we stand and sing. I have decided to follow Jesus. I have decided to follow Jesus. I have decided to follow Jesus. No turning back, no turning back. Go with me, I still will follow. Lord, go with me, I still will follow. Lord, go with me, I still will follow. No turning back, no turning back. The world behind me, the cross before me. The world behind me, the cross before me. The world behind me, the cross before me. No turning back, no turning back. Will you decide now to follow Jesus? Will you decide now to follow Jesus? Will you decide now to follow Jesus? No turning back, no turning back.
Thank you, Stephen. That's motivational, isn't it? What a great way to conclude a wonderful youth day with a message like that. Stand up and shout it if you're going to heaven. And of course, the heart of his message, be like Jesus. And I want you to come and learn more about being like Jesus at the Memphis School of Preaching lectureship this next week. We have flyers, brochures available in the lobby if you'd like to take with you, and maybe during the week you can come and join us for the lectureship. We're looking forward to a big crowd of people being here for the lectures. Some of you who are here today are here because you're already in town for that lectureship, and we are so appreciative that you joined us for the Youth Day. We thank our speakers, Evan and Caleb and Stephen, and the great job they did, and Stephen for leading us in the songs as well. Double duty today. but I think you can see why we also wanted him to speak. Does such a marvelous job, whatever he does. And we look forward to his leading singing more during this coming week, as I mentioned earlier. That's all that I have as far as concluding words, except to say this. I'm grateful for the Forest Hill Church, where I serve, for hosting this event, and for our young people and for moms and dads, interested individuals who work diligently to give us this time. I'm very, very grateful to you. It's been good. And if you're going to have a special day coming up soon, make sure you let us all know so we can go and support your congregation as well. Matthew's heading this way, and that probably means he wants to say something. And Keith, would you like to say something as well? Or, okay, Brother McAllister, one of our elders, is there in the back. We appreciate him, along with our other elders, for their support of this program. And Matthew will have some closing words. And then you want to lead us in a closing song, or stand up and shout it again? Would that be good? And after Matt says something, we'll have our closing song. And then I'm going to ask Jagger House to lead us in our closing prayer. All right, bud? Okay.
Hey, yeah, I wanted to mention, those of you who are going to be here tomorrow afternoon, we have something that we do here every Sunday called Sunday Night at Matt and Nancy's, where the youth hang out. We have a 1:30 to 2:30 service here, and we spend pretty much all afternoon and evening together. Of course, tomorrow that's not going to be the case. We're going to have a nighttime service. But after that nighttime service, we invite all of you to come and join us in that over here in the fellowship hall. And we'll have pizza and we'll have games over there. And so if you're able to do that, come over there. Are you going to be here tomorrow night, or are you going to be? Okay. We're going to ask Stephen if he's able to stay for a few minutes with us, because we also sing when we do that, and maybe he'll come over, and he may be, I don't know, I don't think he gets tired of singing, but he may come over and do that with us. But we'll have games, we'll have food, we'll have some singing. So if you're able, we just want to invite you to come do that with us.
I do appreciate you all being here. This is seems like the largest crowd. It seems like it just grows every year, and we appreciate you coming and being a part of this, and appreciate your participation, your good singing. It has been unbelievably beautiful. I believe that young people are so valuable to the Lord's church for many reasons. I believe you're the greatest evangelist. I believe you're the best singers. On and on. We'll just keep those secrets between us, okay? But I believe that. I believe you're important and valuable, and it kind of gives me a little bit of a heartache when I hear people say, you know, y'all are the future of the church. No, you are the church, you know, right now, and you're doing a great job. You're a great example to us. We appreciate it. Well, I forgot. I left off the chorus. You're my rock, my sword, my shield. We'll throw it in there. Y'all know the song, don't you? Stand up and shout it if you love my. Stand up and shout it if you love my Lord. I want to know that you love my Lord. He's my rock, my sword, my shield. He's the will. He's the fairest of 10,000 to my soul. Makes no difference what they say, I'm gonna love him anyway. He's my rock, my sword, my shield. Praise the Lord. Tell everybody that you love my Jesus. Tell everybody that you love my Lord. They need to know that you love my Lord. He's my rock, my sword, my shield. He's the will of the middle of the will. He's the fairest of 10,000 to my soul. Makes no difference what they say, I'm gonna love him anyway. He's my rock, my sword, my shield. Praise the Lord.
Bow with me. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this youth day. We thank you for the wonderful lunch that we have ate. We thank you for the 3 lessons that we have learned. We thank you for the great song leading by Brother Stephen. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.